In this video, Jim Cramer provides an analysis of the top performing sectors thus far in 2025, stressing his dedication to guiding investors through the current market conditions, particularly amidst a downturn in tech stocks. Jim showcases the resilience of the healthcare sector, advises against stocks like Wells Fargo, and anticipates strong outcome for the aerospace sectors, indicating a broadening and healthier market than initially perceived.
Our data center build out here. I know some of that's already in the works. In February, Apple committed to $500 billion in projects over the next 4 years, aiming to create 20,000 jobs. In March, Taiwan Semi committed to an additional $100 billion on top of previous pledges of $65 billion to build highly advanced semiconductor fabs here, not in Taiwan. The UAE just announced a $1.4 trillion investment commitment to be building here over the next 10 years. That's, by the way, the biggest foreign investment commitment ever. And now Hyundai Motor Group has announced a $20 billion investment commitment, including a $5.8 billion steel mill in Louisiana. Those are wins, big wins. There's also now a paradigm that companies can follow if they want to have access to our markets. They just got to play ball with Trump. And with our country, after years of getting a free ride, well, I'm not taking much of our product at all. I expect all Korean and Japanese car companies to commit like Hyundai if they want to avoid the worst of the tariffs. They'd be foolish not to. I don't think the Germans will be any different. They're built in Mexico endlessly. Now they have to build here, or they likely want to have access to our markets. You can call it extortion. I don't know. There's no doubt it's working, though. There could be wins in shipbuilding, too. That would be something. They destroyed our industry. Foreign companies did that ages ago. And if you want to sell into Walmart or Costco, maybe you have to pay the piper, too. And if he's lucky, Trump will get China to build here in return for, well, nothing. Because they know that he has a vicious temper if you don't play ball, and it isn't worth fight the guy. How certain am I of this? Look, the stock market is pretty unfailing in its understanding of Trump ever since we realized that he's determined to bring back domestic manufacturing via tariffs, and that's job one. The new jobs aren't the same, I know, but they're tribute. And now that we're getting these announcements, he's suddenly willing to be more targeted with his tariffs, declaring victory. Now, why is this happening right now? First, we're on the verge of the April 2nd tariff deadline. I think there's a lot of companies, foreign companies, that line up one by one to show that they want to keep our markets open. To make that happen, they know they got to pay up. Hey, pay up. Second, Trump's been listening. Now, he's seen executive after executive from American companies, and he's asked them what he can do to help their businesses do better. He doesn't want to harm U.S. companies that hire here and expand here. He does want to harm those that don't. I'm told the behind-the-scenes meetings with the president are convivial and substantive. Executives who I thought would be lambasted for asking for special treatment are instead finding a president who's complimentary and constructive and wants them to do well, which they all say is, to a person, is a better deal than they got from the previous president. For example, NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang had some very good things to say about his meeting with Trump. They didn't make this stuff up. Listen to this.
Frankly, he was terrific. He was straightforward, direct, remembered our conversation, really engaging. I thought super charismatic. I really enjoyed the meeting.
You really enjoyed the meeting. Finally, there's what happened 2 weeks ago, 2 Thursdays ago, more accurately, when the stock market officially went into correction mode. Sell. Until the market broke down like that, I think the president was perfectly willing to hammer anybody just to get his way. But the attitude out of Washington hasn't been the same since we went into correction mode. I sense a moment where things are going the president's way, and he wants to be magnanimous to those who are doing what he perceives to be the right thing. I know that Treasury Secretary Besson, well, he hasn't really gotten on board with this view. He seems to be all about indiscriminate pain.
The House of Pain.
It doesn't seem to bother him at all if the stock market gets blasted. He knows from his 35 years in the investing business, the stocks do go up and down. I get that. I don't think President Trump feels that way, though. I don't think he wants to punish good American companies that make things here. That seems like a new development. Now, it's entirely possible that since the market has bounced back, we're going to hear once again about protectionist tariffs, the kind that President McKinley favored. We've talked about President McKinley before on the show. It seems like President Trump's people do favor him. Now, consider those kinds of McKinley tariffs as blunderbusses, the kinds of guns that hit everything. When the president speaks to business people, they always stress that protectionist tariffs are too heavy, too broad. They favor the use of more accurate weapons like reciprocal tariffs, the kind that won't hurt American companies unless they've worked hard to get out of the United States. I think that what happened here is that when the market hit that correction level, the president may have heard the entreaties by many of us that the stocks of good companies are getting blasted. He seemingly didn't think that those companies should see their stocks get crushed. I share that view. Now, let's understand each other. First, I can't be sure that Trump has changed, but I do believe that he's never lost sight of the markets and he watches the business channels. Second, none of this is political. It's just clear-eyed assessment of what the president's trying to do. He wants more domestic jobs and domestic manufacturing if it comes to the expense of cheap stuff from overseas. Hallelujah. Third, if companies like Apple commit here, then why wouldn't Trump favor those companies and help them? Why should he insist that Apple pay a high tariff on the parts of phones or phones they bring in after committing such a huge amount of money here to our country? Finally, none of this has to do with Mexico and Canada, where it's entirely possible that companies could get hurt. It's hard to tell because no one involved in the Mexican chain of imports seems to know what to do. I know that Mark Carney, new Canadian prime minister, will elect, he's got a snap election coming up, isn't going to play ball with an election coming up. No. Therefore, lumber's in play, and I think the rally in the home builders has some danger to it, especially after KB Homes reported just a number tonight. I think the reciprocity, I've not heard a lot of reciprocity between the United States and Canada. They're very unhappy with that 51st state rhetoric. I can't blame them. Hey, I bought Carney's book this weekend. It's kind of hard, but that's okay. He's got a lot of them. I like this one. But what really matters is that there's a course of action that will allow foreign countries or even individual foreign companies to ameliorate tariffs. It's a path. And once you get a path, you get possible transparency and certainty. And that's what stock markets like. That's what this stock market likes. It's why I can keep rallying as long as the McKinley tariffs are gone and the much more reasonable reciprocal tariffs are in. Of course, if you're a diehard free trader, you're probably still appalled by all this and everything I talk about. But I point out that free traders have been calling the darn shots ever since World War II, even though the game plan stopped working decades ago. Here's the bottom line. At the end of the day, America is the only country on earth that's played fair on trade. Everybody else breaks the rules to protect their domestic businesses. That's hollowed out our industrial heartland, and that dynamic can only change if our government takes a more carrot-and-stick approach. Assuming Trump doesn't go overboard, that might just be what we've got, and it means stocks can finally stage a real rally again.